Hello everyone and welcome to day 2 of week 6 of VALORANT Challengers North America. We only have one match today, so it's gonna be a fun one for sure. I'm your host for today, Dryad, and today I'm joined by Lemon Kiwi and Keg to talk about this one match that we have. But before we get into the action, guys, let's talk about everything that has been going on. This is week 6. This is the last week before we get the chance to see playoffs, before we get the chance to see who's gonna move to Ascension. So everything that crazy moment that everybody's waiting for is getting closer and closer, Lemon.
Yeah, and it's cool to see the strats change, and not in like the quirkiest of ways, because people know like they're secured in playoffs by now, and we'll let the math gods tell you who that is. So a lot of teams have sort of been playing really wacky stuff where we're like overthinking it. We're like analyzing the next meta, but it's actually just them like hiding what they actually want to play. So, and also on the ISO nerf patch, we're wondering how the meta's changing in general. So this is going to be a fun day. We've compressed all the action into this one match.
Especially in Challengers, you know, they're always running some composition that nobody is expecting, nobody has run before. They gotta beat the different one. And I mean, we love to see it because we get to see the ISO, the Neon, the Phoenix even yesterday. So Keg, let's take a look at what happened yesterday specifically, because we had two big teams going against each other for the first match. It was gonna be Oxygen and SAD. SAD took one of the maps. People were not really expecting that one as much, but for the second match as well, it was Fluffy Aimers with the upset, taking down the only undefeated team that we had in Challengers.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack with these four teams, right? Oxygen losing a map, Fluffy Aimers beating out Dark Zero, definitely big storylines in themselves, but I think it really plays into the general like zeitgeist of what Tier 2 is about, right? Challengers talent is so good, and that gap between, well, you know, the VCT level talent and where we're at with Challengers is just getting narrower and narrower by the week. At this point, realistically, with all the wacky metas and stuff that we're seeing, Dryad, it could be anybody's game.
That's how it's looking right now, because we were saying, okay, Oxygen was the best team, then they got taken down by Dark Zero, and then yesterday Dark Zero got beaten down by Fluffy Aimers. So we're in this position where we're just wondering who is really going to be the best team, who is going to be the one potentially even lifting the trophy in Ascension, as we've mentioning, because it's happening very soon, and the players know it, the teams know it as well. So talking about what happened yesterday, also what is going to happen today, because as we mentioned, guys, we only have one match. Is going to be YFP going against TSM. Initially, the schedule had 2 matches, but we only get this one for today. And then tomorrow, we have 3 matches happening. They're going to happen. The first 2 are going to happen on the main broadcast where you guys are watching right now. The second one is going to happen in the Knights Arena Twitch. So you guys stay tuned. Or the third one, rather, that Core Winthrop University, the last match of the day is going to happen in the Knights Arena Twitch chat. So you guys know and taking that into account, Lemon.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was that reschedule, but that just means that this is the match of the day, because there's only one. And I know we weren't allowed to show this tweet, but y'all better have seen what Jake wrote to TSM about not showing up today. So there's a bit of beef between YFP and TSM, so I'm so looking forward to today.
It makes sense, too, to have that beef, right? Because Jakey's very first match in Challengers was going up against TSM in the Midseason Cup, and YFP only took a single map away, not only from just TSM, but they only took a single map away from the entirety of that event. So I can understand why he wants that revenge.
Especially for the mid-season, it was you lose and you're out. It had to be a perfect run for the teams to make it all the way until the end. But now, in the last week, it's kind of the same position, right? You want to end up with that win. You want to be ready for playoffs and end up in a positive fashion and make sure that you're able to fix those mistakes that have happened the first couple of weeks, which, honestly, we've seen for all of those teams. So let's dive into this match. We already talked about what is going on in social media, but now let's talk about the first team that we have, YFP, that, as we mentioned towards the beginning of the split, they made some changes. Jake is playing here, has had a pretty great impact, but now can they win today, Keg?
I mean, look, YFP, right? Look at their roster. They're all tier 1 talent that we've seen in many different forms of competition. You know, if we compare them to Oxygen, right? We say that Oxygen is a team that seemingly is unstoppable and should be on paper, but to me, YFP is one of the biggest wild cards there is in all of North American VALORANT. They have what it takes to win not only just the top of their group stage, they have what it takes to win the playoffs and Ascension, but they just have to put all those pieces together.
Yeah, I agree. YFP are starting to threaten the top. They're currently sitting near that top and middle pack area. They lose really only to the top two of M80 and Turtle Troop, but they win against everyone else. TSM is the team that they're really preparing for because, like you pointed out, Keg, from the Midseason Cup, like it was a really tight series. It came down to map picks to really who looked strongest in that series.
It's just those little things that always make a difference in a week like this one, where we're gonna get the chance to see maybe this head-to-head between YFP and TSM for the last time, and then you need to play with the wildcard, you need to play the agents that we haven't seen. Just like yesterday, we saw a double duelist composition in Haven for two teams with an ISO and a Phoenix, and an ISO and a Jet. Things get crazy when it's just the very, very end of this regular season. But now let's talk about the others, right? Let's talk about TSM, because as you guys mentioned, YFP looked really good. They only lost against the old Turtle Troop, now Dark Zero and M80. But this team of TSM, they've struggled a lot more. And to be fair, they've also been some pretty strong opponents. They lost against Oxygen, Fluffy Aimers, and Moist Shopify Lemon. So we're just in the wondering, are they the mid-table? Are they the upper table? And they just had some tough matches that they had to face?
This hasn't been like the strongest split for sure for TSM, and it was a really uncharacteristic week last week, especially for Sim, who looked uncomfortable on the Reyna on Icebox, had 7 burst death, 125 ACS, like really need to hit closer to 200 as a duelist. And Sim, this was just an off day, because the very last time they went to Icebox and he played Reyna, he'll top frag, he'll get 300 ACS, he'll get the 6 first kills, and Mata was just the better duelist when Sim faced against Moist Shopify. So really weird week. I didn't think TSM looked good against Moist Shopify.
Yeah, I mean, TSM and YFP, they're both teams where you look at the rosters on paper, you expect having them to have high expectations, but a lot of the times, especially the stage limit, you said it yourself, they haven't quite hit the mark. So I'm expecting maybe TSM to pick it up this next map or this next series to maybe have that final hurrah before we potentially see playoffs. But I mean, again, at the end of the day, this team needs to have that cohesion. They're all great individually, but they have to tie it together.
And as we've mentioned before, sometimes a lot of these matches, a lot of these results have come down to where the maps are headed and how those maps end up taking place. You guys mentioned the Reyna, the Gecko as well for them. The map select is ready, so let's take a look at what has been selected by TSM and YFP, because it's a TSM that I gotta say I'm a big fan of. I think all the pieces, as you were mentioning, Keg, all the pieces are great, but when it comes to winning together, that's when the problem starts. So yeah, we have the map selection here. Is gonna be Lotus, Haven, and Bind. Keg, what do you make of this?
I think for the most part, this benefits YFP more than TSM. I'm really curious to see if we go to this third map because, I mean, Lotus is going to be interesting in of itself. That's one map that we saw in that initial last matchup between YFP and TSM. But that Bind matchup has been a map that both these teams historically have been very comfortable on. But it's not a map that we've seen YFP play since that defeat against from TSM. So I'd love to see a redemption arc come out from them if we do get to see that third map. But even at that second map, right, Haven, that's another map that TSM has yet to play the stage. And honestly, I don't know if we're prepared for what they have in mind, considering all the deadlocks and ISOs and everything we've seen so far from other teams.
I think this is kind of a weird pool. So we'll start with Lotus, where TSM banned Ascent. So this is a really great backup plan for YFP, where Ascent and YFP have gone to Ascent like back to back weeks.
Yeah.
So YFP on Lotus won 13-9 in week 3, running some Neon Clove, and they beat Oxygen. So that was kind of a jaw dropper for me, I guess, for how much I respected Oxygen. Meanwhile, TSM lost this very map to Oxygen with, some vanilla Fade Breach stuff. So keep an eye on what really breaks down on Lotus in terms of the comps. So Haven is the real head scratcher for me because TSM, why didn't they go to Bind? They've gone this 3 weeks in a row, and TSM haven't played Haven at all. Obviously, it just came into the rotation and all, but this comes off to me as TSM wanting to hide strats, maybe what they want to do in playoffs, or like maybe because they're so readable on Bind, because they've been to Bind so many times, they don't want to go to it a fourth time. And YFP, this is a very comfortable map for them, speaking of Haven, because they've played this now 2 weeks in a row. So why would TSM want to go to Haven? That's going to be my question.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some interesting counter strats that could come out from this matchup. And going back to the Haven that you mentioned, Lemon, because YFP had played it twice, there is footage on them being played. So there could be a lot of strats that not only TSM could have been saving, but now they have a lot to work with to beat YFP on those same set strats. So these first two maps do seem like they should be more confidently in TSM's favor, but because YFP, they dominated Bind on stage 1, and suddenly now with a new roster, they haven't played it into stage 2. I'm a little dicey about how that could go out for either one of these teams.
And there's a little bit of speculation between these two and what they were going to pick and kind of playing the mental game since the map select. But they also played each other before they passed them. And so that was for the mid-season that we got the chance to talk about. And it was a win or you're out. And we saw TSM kind of having this comeback in map 2 and map 3 where it was close, but he never got too close. So I'm wondering what it's going to be like today.
Yeah, like this shows the comfortability of YFP on Bind and why TSM wanted to get rid of this. And yeah, TSM stole away the series. And that's why I said it really came down to map picks between these two teams, because you look at 13-7 from YFP and you're like, wow, they're going to run away with the series. They look so confident. They look so planned out. And then TSM kind of kick them in the dirt the next two maps. So I think I'm kind of favoring TSM based on the YFP based on the map picks that we have today. Just because, yeah, the Neon Clove looked really good against Oxygen, and YFP are very good on Haven, and that's TSM's pick, and we haven't seen TSM on Haven, so YFP are the favorites in my opinion.
See, that's why I'm undecided, because that Haven pick is going to be the ultimate decider for this series, no matter who wins map 1. If TSM have the wildest composition in the universe, they're probably going to win. That's the meta right now for Valorant. The wackier your composition, the more likely you are to win. So if they can dominate map 2, I think they're good for the series.
I don't know. Yesterday I saw Harbor on Sunset, a Harbor Clove, and they didn't win. So maybe the word is you get doesn't mean you always win. I mean, there's definitely a couple...
That's a very hot map, though. The water dries up.
There's a couple arguments against it, but we definitely know the creativity in Challengers always happens. It seems like one of the players is almost getting ready, so we're going to throw it to a break. But when we're back, we'll have that match with YFP and TSM.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Everyone has installed their games. Joy to the world. Woo-hoo! And we're starting on Lotus for our first match and only match of the day, YFP TSM.
Interesting compositions here. So we have the double neon, we have the Gecko Fade as the big difference maker, Lemon. And I gotta say, I like this. I personally am more of a fan of the Gecko neon on this map, just because you have a little bit more of a rambunctious flash and an insta peek. But if YFP want to take this a little bit slower and they want to take their time to parse out information, I think the Fade's a really good option for this defense.
It's kind of interesting that YFP didn't want to run some Clove too, because they won this, 13-9? Oh wait, TSM ran the Neon Clove against Oxygen that one time, so that was pretty fun. Sad to see the Clove gone, but the Neon, you know, it's going to be fast, it's going to get sturdy, and I'm really excited to see more Neon. And then you have the Breach versus the Fade.
Yeah, I think the Breach and Fade combo is going to be interesting too, right? Because with YFP's composition, their ultimates are so AoE heavy that in theory, you could stack them on top of each other if it's like a B-side plant, right? And then you have unlimited information on every attacker, and then you have a way to stun them completely. That's an instant win if any team wants to go for a B take. But we'll have to wait and see if that happens, or if the ultimates don't stack on top of each other. I am kind of sad, though, that we aren't seeing the Neon Clove. I just feel that a map like Lotus is just too big to find viability off of Clove's util.
Yeah, Clove was like, I think Scuba, yeah. Scuba on Oxygen had fun with the Clove, and just either way. Sim versus Penny, these are two duelists that are ramping up as the season goes, but especially Penny has been consistently a top performer for this team, and TSM already leaning towards the C site with Sim ready to meet them.
Yeah, I like this. Our early offense from YFP's end, information parsed out, especially from C site, allows Penny to push up slightly through the one-way. Well, Penny doesn't know. Baiting out the door, notices nobody's going to be on B main. They have to run away. There's no immediate info from YFP now. TSM are taking this so slow.
But Penny just saw like a 3-stack towards Mound, so just keeping them honest. And you're still hearing those shots, so this is great information for someone like Penny who can hold it down C and then can easily just use the speed to leave, or doesn't really have to engage with this. But the lurker of a Proto has already made their way through A, and now once the smoke clears, they'll get some eyes on stairs. Here is the aftershock. TSM making their way through to A. The stack joining the lurker. Sim taking early damage as the defenders of YFP were holding the tree and deciding to take the long way around. Big wins, but TSM in the post plant now have a 3v3.
Penny has almost no util. Spotted.
One enemy remaining.
Huge.
Oh. 2v1 now. Penny, Jake versus 7 at low health, and he emerges. Great read out of YFP. They're really good at playing this chess match of giving up the space, going around back tree, and trying to kind of wrap around TSM, who kind of got stuck having to play on site in that post plan and didn't have time to really set up beyond that.
I really like the read that YFP had setting up on A site that early round. No players on the defense went for a full over-rotation, giving up C site, instead relying on their more faster and less util-dependent agents to sit around on C and B to then play a retake just in case TSM did go for that late lurking strat. That was such a good early read off of the hands of the tripwire that we had also seen come out from Thief. But they'll have to switch up their strategies a little bit here. Penny now on A side, looking to play this very aggressively outside of A.
Oh. TSM have already put Sim on the site and have made moves. A lot of stuns pushing back YFP's defense to the small baby door, and Sim approaches with the SMG. And have great pressure to now make space outside
one enemy remaining.
Because that's what TSM lacked last round, was firepower once the cards were on the table. And Thief, well, he's off the table now, and TSM will take the bonus.
I really like how TSM had bought up into that last round, right? Then pushed into the smallest site possible, purposely just to take fights and ruin YFP's economy. Yeah, like, look, winning the round is important, right? But taking away the round and ruining YFP in what should be their buy-up round, or maybe their bonus, sure, is really devastating.
Yeah, that was like anti-eco Magdab, but now we'll be going into
Right
TSM
there.
to see if they really follow up that momentum and now carry through some of these SMGs. You got some hero rifles. TSM placing the smoke so they could maybe get to the orb. Just seeing if there was anybody close to safely go into rubble. And Penny loves the jiggle peek for that info.
Yeah, that might be more valuable than the fade info that we see a lot in this defense. We saw the Haunt come out, not find a lot of information. Penny's there to acquiesce just in case. And now, YFP lost the big crux of the info gathering. They know at least it should be A, but I don't know if this is a commit. The spike's all the way back over on B, Lemon. It might be heading
Yeah,
towards
this
C.
is a sell. This fake is being sold, and look at YFP rotating to support A. And Physic may be the only one who could see what's going on. I thought he was going to go towards B, and TSM taking their time getting to C, and the person to cut them off is Thief, but he only has a classic. TSM haven't dropped a single body. It's just a farming simulator, obviously, with the weapon difference that we have.
Yeah, I can't tell what crop YFP would be this round, though. Will, though. They have to keep an eye on their utility for the rest of this defense. That's the big difference between these two rosters. FaZe util can find so much. Will at least makes it less of a flawless round. But again, you have that Haunt, you have the two Prowlers, only one set of regenerating utility. And if that Haunt does not find any information, you have essentially nothing to work with outside of the Thief's util. And Penny has to jump peek just in case. TSM are baiting out that Neon, playing overly aggressive.
Oh, Will was looking for exit frags. I like the fake that he tried to do from the B-Link door, come back around. There was a bit of a timing thing with Sim also coming into B site, but will be TSM who win that. Obviously, just off of the weapon read, but also just the map control and a beautiful fake sold at A and then the pivot to C, and really nobody able to stop that, even if they had weapons, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough sell, right? And especially, again, Will's utility is the big course of that. If you bait out the Haunt, it's not spotting anybody. You have free range to do whatever you want on this map. And that's what made Sky so strong way back in the day, is that it was hard to sell all that information. Baiting out Penny again, Lemon. No way.
Like, Penny's been jiggle peeking, and, you know, it's fast, you don't expect it, but TSM get the punish, get the first blood. They have controlled the C site, but their spike hasn't actually entered it. Seven is waiting to hear from this door that was opening, and now re-clearing into C. They got smokes at the backside. They just saw some fade util being thrown from Waterfall, so TSM's attention is locked and focused. And the spike hasn't been planted yet. If anything, it's been dropped because they think YFP are ready to brawl and prevent this from happening. TSM just want YFP to peak.
This is gonna be a tough sell here. Plenty of util set up here from YFP, waiting.
Proto caught Jake, but Jake had the better aim, and YFP's retake, it's orking out. It's just 7 with no HP left. TSM didn't know whether to just take the initiative on the spike plan or to be patient and wait for YFP to get antsy, and it didn't work out for TSM to be patient.
See, I would say too that TSM's being really overly eager in the first 30 seconds of each of these rounds. They're purposely hunting down Penny and playing off of that play to take them down and win that opening fight. But then suddenly they do remove Penny, and it's like, well, I guess we could dedicate from here, right? And it throws the pacing of the team off so much. I like this group up though. Regardless of Penny's existence on A here or not, will be. They will try to dedicate to A site. But look at the setup here. Plenty of util to stop this initial A push.
Oh my god, the slide! Penny and Sim collide, and TSM left in a 4v4. Not having GMD is rough, for no smokes to be placed around A, and they'll live with what they have right now, and TSM try to escape. They drop some bodies while doing so, and
Thief.
on the other side is Thief on the forward lurk. The 1-2 and almost 2-2 on the third.
I have retrieved
It's just up to a Proto, and he's gonna invest in neural theft.
This is winnable too. A Proto can parse out this information. A minute left on the clock. He has so much time to play with here. He doesn't have to dedicate anywhere just yet. He can even fake this spike plan if he wants to. Or he can stick it and push all the way up the back of C site.
planted the
Got
spike.
the site for free.
He doesn't do either.
No util. knows that they could be coming from the top. He got a ping from B, so where they could cross is the B link from Waterfall, but a Proto can't handle the heat, and it's YFP that get the defuse.
That's such a tough position to be in if you're a Proto. You want to go for that spike plant and possibly push something up to catch someone like YFP, anyone left alive off guard. It's tough to hold the entirety of that site by yourself. Even if they were on the top of C site, I'm pretty sure they could see at least the tippity top of Cypher's little bald head. Well, that's such a tough position to be in there. I love how emotional these opening like 45 seconds of each of these rounds have been. Each team just wants to clobber each other.
And this was such a big round for the economy as well. I saw at least 2 players from both sides last round that picked up light armor. So this is going to suffer for TSM, who have a broken by 2 hero rifles, but YFP with a streak. And a Proto used the neural theft for the clutch, didn't work out, but Sim going in aggressive. YFP tried to be aggressive in A lobby last time, and they've dialed that back. They're trying to be more diligent. TSM, they're trying to plant, and GMD came back around and couldn't get the backstab he was hoping for, and the YFP retake is what you have to fear, especially Penny. It's worth his weight in gold. And that's yet another round for YFP.
Holy, I liked what TSM wanted to accomplish that round. They had a broken buy. They had themselves overdrive to work with, the over push into B, but none of that connected at all. YFP have recognized now that TSM, they're really falling into these very aggressive early round plays that YFP, once they recognize where TSM want to dedicate themselves, a decision that's made within, again, very quickly as a round starts, they can just dial back and wait for a retake. Because so far, YFP have yet to be stopped in post-plant situations. Every round they've won has been a defuse.
I like that they're playing for retakes, because with the Fade, they're getting more accurate information with the util that she has compared to the Gecko. And TSM, they want to play fast because they want to play with that advantage that they have of the Gecko and the Breach to explode onto the site, to have those 2 flashes. And TSM did catch Jake, who's now playing the C site instead of Penny. And you see that Penny isn't going to be able to jiggle peek as much now that TSM are more ready for it this time.
Seven's going to be gathering the orb here. Should have Thrash available to fast entry onto C.
No control of B, though, means TSM have to watch their back, and it's Thrash that leads the way and eats all the CC, but only gets to about halfway through the site. You don't know what's happening at the end, and it's Jake, who's a pretty big threat. He gets Gecko Flash, or no, that's Penny actually, mid-ult, that only gets slowed down, and Wingman isn't allowed to plant, so TSM have to get on this high ground. But with Penny on the other side, that's a dangerous spot for TSM to be in.
Oh, okay, the Rolling Thunder dedication there. They're going to overextend and take back of C control. Deny this retake from YFP. Make it only so Waterfall's viable.
Rolling Thunder to get the spike, to get it planted. GMD testing the waters against Penny. You got to trade, though. 2v2 on that post playing with an Odin from Will. Paired up with Penny at the top site. Crossfire from TSM. Just have to be patient, but a Proto needs to be able to peel for poise and vice versa. The YFP's team play is just better.
Even with only 2 players left alive, these retakes have been unstoppable from YFP. In all cases, right? 9 times out of 10, that is a TSM round through and through. Great entry off of Seven's ult. You had the Breach ult thereafter once the plant started getting a little risky after this initial fight. Somehow the Thrash misses Jakey. I think that's the most important win condition that YFP had. Keeping him alive, having that position, denying TSM from any sort of space creation off of top of C site really stalled their plans. And now they have no ults to work with for those fast pushes. They have to rely again on Seven and Poised, and of course Sim's util to have those fast executions. Those have been stalled out by an Odin inside tree many different times now.
TSM had a broken by last round. Now this could be more of an even fight, but YFP have really nullified so many of the ults from TSM. Like a Proto's neural theft in that 1v2. Sim, who ulted last round. Like it's even Seven's Thrash that got hit by a Bazillion Breach CC as it was entering the site and didn't reach Jake, as you said. So YFP almost have the strat book from TSM in their locker, and they've been studying up. And it was YFP that said, hey, TSM, don't show up because we're going to beat you down. And this is quite the wind in their sails for Lotus right now.
I mean, you could argue that TSM's not showing up for this round. They made an early presence on A, they backed away, they're waiting for Will to expend that utility, and then trying to bait out these repositions again. Penny, though, again, has been a human sentinel, has been able to find so much information. He's gonna back away.
I'm out of
Keep
here.
an eye on that clock, though. 40 seconds left. If TSM wants to double fake this, they have to do it now. If they push any more, this has to be an A take. Or a very last
30
second push to
seconds
B.
left.
It's a cool pace change.
Go, go,
But
go.
will TSM see baby door open? They do. They will just make as much noise as possible running through. This is going to put pressure on Physic to push them back. And he already used util to do so to buy himself some time. 13 seconds though, TSM don't have time. And they will just try to fire their way through. They need a comfortable spot to plant though. And Thief will get up close and personal to this cage and will try to go for the backstab. And Penny with 3 kills TSM's chances to plant or to win the round.
That's 2 B-side takes in a row now, Lemon, where we've seen Petty just slide and find so much impact with the most ludicrous kills I've seen in this game. To TSM, that shuts down any possibility of a last-second pivot to that site. You're locked down to essentially A and C, and yeah, none of them have looked really that comfortable for TSM. The timeout's called here. Big change of pace needs to be made for the team. They've already tried turning the gears more, changing the pace of the mid-round, and even then, YFP, they have one simple goal in mind: wait out the patience of TSM and play for the retakes. For YFP, the path to victory is very linear, and TSM have to get so much more creative on this attack. And with a Neon, a Gecko, and a Breach, this is the side that you're designed to maximize your rounds on. That Gecko's not going to find as much viability on the defense unless you pull the same strat and playing full retakes every single round.
Just think Physic has done such a good job from YFP to foil TSM's plan to make them stumble over themselves on entry or on those retakes. Like YFP, although he's 3 and 6, this is why we don't pay as much attention to KDA and Valorant, because it's the impact of how you set up your team for success. And YFP's entries have been YFP's retakes, I should say, have been so good. Like, TSM get onto the site just fine and plant most of the time. Look at how many diffuses YFP have.
I do
It's
agree.
insane.
I do agree, but Penny has double the kills over Sim. And they're duelists. They have to be finding those kills. The KDA for that Neon is so important, especially if they're not finding distance to create space on site. Full tack on A. Penny's dialed themselves back. They were the opening death for many of these early rounds, but now they've recognized they cannot be the crux of loss.
As they wanted to play off of contact of 7's flash. TSM get hit by CC and have to slow it down, and Sim has to fight the bullet, go in and bring all the attention towards him. Beautiful double kill as TSM have the advantage in the post plant by 2. And with the neural theft from a Proto, no, there's no one behind them. They just have to set their sights forward. Double kill for GMD. And an important round post timeout for TSM.
Great from TSM. No over-engineering, no overthinking. A straight shot towards A site was a great path to victory. Remember, for YFP's roster, as great as it can be for retakes, they have stall potential, but it's purely based off of information and contact plays. If you are not expecting a fast push on A site, it's so easy to overwhelm Physic or Will or even Jake's utility. And so TSM, they're looking to get past that line of the sand before it's even drawn. A 4-stack now on A. An early stun from Physic should slow everything down.
Oh, geez, Sim can't even take rubble. Like, Penny can't see either. TSM, they sometimes like to escape through A lobby, but they decide they won't run. They will fight. And it works out. I mean, you're able to even things up when TSM got hit by so much util. You thought that was going to be the moment YFP pincered them, but TSM make it through with not a disadvantage.
It should have been that moment. But so much util also, I think, hurt YFP from their own teammates too, that it stalled everything. A lot of solo individual plays from YFP and very little tradability. It's good for one, the lurk is gone.
Find you.
A 3v2 for YFP.
Yeah, TSM's lurks have been found out when they try to push past the B
One
site,
enemy
and it comes
remaining.
down to a 1v1. Thief versus 7.
Oh, Thrash.
At PM. But, oh no, Thief still gets detained. But he could be free soon. No, 7 will show him how it's done.
That's risky, though. Bringing Thrash out for the 1v1. It does guarantee you a very important round for TSM, but at least now you have that Rolling Thunder in your arsenal from Poised. You don't necessarily need it to take sight. Sim is super close, too, to getting their overdrive. Could be a great way to capture this A orb early on if they can just get past that little breakable door area. YFP tried to read this into a seaside take. No chance that TSM go for A yet another round in a row. They be guessing wrong. B-side empty. Thief by themselves, only with a Sheriff.
TSM just always get hit by the same breach util, and this time try to be in a more anti-flash position, just be more into cover. TSM have a lobby for free, but their util behind has been triggered. TSM know they can't waste any time. They'll have a pro to watch the flank. TSM set the spike down, up the rope, Sim goes, but Thief was already inside of the smoke. And with the neural theft, this time from Thief, YFP are going to see if they can pull off a thrifty. They have the one-man advantage, but GMD cuts down 2. YFP's reaction was too slow. And YFP will not be able to pull off the thrifty, and TSM start to catch up in rounds.
Huge macro level comeback from TSM side. YFP do not have an answer to the aggression of A-Site. Now, I want to throw a quick stat out to you. YFP, the last time they played on Lotus against TSM, only got 7 rounds. They are 1 round away from tying up for where they were last standing in the mid-season cup. This defense, they need to make sure they come out of this on top 7-5. 6-6 is going to be risky for this defense. They don't have the same aggressive stack that TSM does for these attacking rounds.
Yacht by from Sim. Yeah. Thief, goodbye. Didn't even want to show it. That was R-rated. TSM, first blood. And he got the overdrive too. Can easily give that up over. Sim will do that or drop it. Either way, 7 has the Odin too. TSM, they got that first blood. Shadows. Now everything's been so quiet, ready to hit the site, flashing in, using Neon's wall to just cut down the angles. As Sim floats onto the site now with the overdrive, looking around waterfall, not wanting to take too many risks and rely on the Odin to spray through. What a read from Sim, catching the teleport from Jake. And TSM, 2 main advantage.
One enemy remaining.
This spot, I was gonna say post play. I'm surprised they haven't played it yet.
They haven't needed to. They know exactly what YFP's game plan will be. Play it slow. We know it's going to be a seaside take. Let's try to go for the pinch
Switching
once again. But YFP, they failed to adapt those last 4 rounds. After that timeout from TSM, the strat from YFP never changed. They kept trying to go for these gamble stacks, trying to go for these reads to catch TSM off guard, go for the early picks to stall the fast takes, and they guessed wrong almost every single round. Now they're on a side again that's going to be much slower than what TSM had to offer. But because you have that Gecko instead of a Fade, you have to play a lot more aggressive, more contact-heavy Lemon. And that could mean TSM, even on the defense, they still want to bring that fight to YFP as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah, and just with this map starting 6-2 in favor of YFP, I don't know what TSM did in the timeout, but they calm themselves down, which is important. A Proto playing off the camera. He's now stacked at C, where usually that's, I mean, honestly, where a Cypher should be. YFP didn't do that on their defense as much, but YFP got a lobby control for free, but
that's a great smoke. Look at these defensive pings. The smoke is working from YFP. They're faking this big push over towards the back of A-Site for a behind-the-scenes take. No info gathering from GMD either. They have no idea that this is all a big fake towards C. The camera shot out, though. Now they know.
Now they know, yeah, TSM. They got distracted. They thought the fight was going to be at stairs. Now YFP get the C site for free, and they've already used the haunt to see if anyone was close by. Penny! Just the instant headshot on the Sim was pretty clean. Now the Prowler and YFP storm the trenches, and TSM still have a Proto in Waterfall. I wonder, yeah, he got the backstep onto Will, and even a third. A Proto just took on the whole team by himself, giving Poise and GMD the best chance possible to retake and turn this whole round in their favor. Jake has no health, but he just has to play his life, to play time, and stop this defuse that's being stuck. But GMD gets the last laugh, and TSM get the pistol.
That's gotta feel so good for GMD after what happened earlier today on social media. Interesting from Seven, though. Just kind of stood there. Was in utter shock and awe for the Neon plays. Not sure if they had a tech issue or not, but hopefully we'll find out sooner rather than later. Nope, it looks like they're good. This is a gamble.
The GOAT, though.
Yeah, honestly, Proto single-handedly winning that round is a huge tide turner for TSM. I mean, look, the last 4 rounds they've won in a row was a pretty good tide turner, but the fact now that YFP are going to be that back heel when it comes to their economy, at least for the next few rounds, it's going to be gigantic.
Now more aggressive hold on A lobby from TSM. 3 stacked on the right side of the map. YFP go for C yet again. The Proto, the ultimate anchor for C. The 3K that won them the round, and now the first blood to steady this offense, to keep it honest. And the Proto is ready to launch himself in off the contact of his initiators. And YFP get cleaned up within that second.
Wow. What a clean retake there. Seven's util, a Proto, as you mentioned, being a very huge impact on C-site. Already, YFP's attacking options are going to be limited. Not like they could really do a whole lot into that round besides fast push. Any sort of way to break up the economy from TSM would have been great. Fortunately, though, the risk there is that now TSM are able to farm up their orbs a little bit more. In fact, though, Proto's already set up for the neural theft into this next round potentially. Seven's not too far away from bringing themselves to have that same thrash. YFP going for an early timeout, though, is a really good sign from the team. They've recognized something's wrong, and now this is their big chance to swing it back 8-8. They need to make this rifle round count, Lemon, and if they can't, then they're looking at more broken buys and potentially a map lost.
Oh, and a timeout from YFP's side. So I like that TSM took that early timeout at around the 6-2 mark to just really calm themselves down, because this is not just, okay, yeah, it's the last match, and I'm sure both these teams are comfortable to, well, not get relegated, which is the most important part, but there's something about this match that is beyond the stakes of challengers. There's an ego on the line, and you know how important that is when you're an aspiring player. So for TSM to calm themselves down, fire back, now you're making YFP second guess what they're doing.
It's definitely really emotional from YFP's end, and so I'm definitely keeping an eye on certain players to make sure they're not over pushing and making silly mistakes just for the sake of getting those kills or, you know, having those flashy moments, right? They have to play as a team. And that's what we talked about on the desk. Both these teams have star-studded rosters, and they should be at the top of their leagues. But it comes down to them working together as a team that seems to be that biggest struggle at times. And if they can wrap it together here now, then they'll be good, at least now, for their group.
And like I said before, like Will playing the Fade gives them such good info. Now the aftershock, the fast lane, and not able to creep through. Penny was still discovered despite not making as much noise and not going deep into the site, just playing off the fast lane, and TSM just sprayed through the wall, and it worked out for first blood. But how does it work for the retake? Well, Sim wants to make a splash, but he wants to coordinate with the players located in Waterfall. TSM is all about timing, and speaking of that, GMT thought he had the heads-up play against Steve coming through B-Link door. Now YFP are left with just Steve, who just still can't get a leg up, but he makes it possible. He's already had 3K, but he gets 7. That guy's just a 1v1 lord.
Yeah, 1v1 master indeed. Neural theft expended for the 1v1. Trying to get that revenge on Seven, no less, too, when Seven used the thrash on the other half and was able to find Thief. Unlucky, really. And TSM, they just broke the economy of YFP completely off the hands of that timeout. Things are going from bad to worse for this squad that looked dominant in this first half. Now they have to worry about, oh, well, we saw for a second the potential operator from TSM's side. We're not in that territory yet. But double ults available here? That is info heaven for TSM.
Shadows traveling.
YFP still forcing to with a couple of light armor buys, doing everything they can to encroach on TSM's lead. Good ults from TSM's side too, and they're stacking over at A with all the smokes that YFP had been placing. TSM will always they'll always go with their gut, which is check out A first, worry about C later. YFP, they finally hit A for the first time this offense, and it's the first blood. It's Thrash from the opposition. Sim will get one for the road, and it's up to a Proto to clutch 1v4. Has neural theft, but not a corpse nearby to use it on.
Spike planted.
Proto through the cage. They all know where he is too, but how expensive can you make this? Because YFP, they invested to the point where they had light armors. So if a Proto can just take away some of those guns, it would surely be impactful with where their economy is right now. But a Proto worries about himself first and wants to save his own weaponry.
Yeah, the buys from TSM aren't looking fantastic right now. Always the economy going to the next round. Have to make sure they can preserve as much weaponry as they can. A site is such a tough site to retake. C can be a lot easier. You just have to stall with the Cypher util. But holding a lot of bodies on B and A to make sure you cannot have that site control lost, and if you have to go for a retake, so be it, makes it really difficult. And so now YFP, it almost seems like they're trying to do the same exact strat that TSM had done off of their own timeout on their attack. Make sure they can just fast push A, deny any retake capabilities, and just farm these rounds one after another. Now, where is this operator going to live? Outside of C. There have been plenty of one-ways before. There is the potential now for GMD to teleport across that brown box. Won't be noticed by YFP. But they're not even going to do that. This is a fast push. As fast as you can really go here. Huge. Now look at this though, Lemon. Penny's gone. Space creation denied. They don't have that Gecko to use any utility to get that distance in. They may have to rely on Will's ult, but he would have to get the orb and a single kill to do it. That's going to make getting onto any of these sites very difficult for YFP.
And the trip setup is different from a Proto. One at B, one at A. And YFP have used the Prowler from Will's Fade to help break that, but then the timing from Poised is everything on if he can fault line, if he can aftershock, when as soon as you have a hint that YFP is coming your way. He heard the tree door open, and already it's trying to slow them down. So much good stall from TSM. YFP will be pushed off the spike, rolling thunder from the offense, trying to catch Poised. Oh no! But he's higher than they thought. He's up on the high ground.
Spike
Poised will stay as a pillar on the backside. Now this up. Best over at stairs, and YFP only have two. Make it one. It's just physics with no util. And he got Sim dancing on his corpse too. That doesn't help.
Oh, the idea was there from YFP, but that rolling thunder, the timing there just wasn't it. It could have been a great one had we seen the plant just before or right after, but there was just a few moments of stall in between the ult and allowing time for TSM to retake their positions back. And TSM, all they had to do is wait and play a very quick retake. I mentioned that it's a very hard site to retake, and I'm going to stand by that point. But because TSM were waiting on the outer wings purposely for YFP to reset themselves after the plant, they were already set up and ready to have that instant drop. There was no room for YFP to take extra space. Now there's
no room for YFP to win a round either. It's just been what, one?
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, this is tough though, because look, I'm just not a big fan of Fate on this map. I get why Will's playing here, but it's just like you're relying on so much slower plays and parsing out info much quicker for two teams that really just want to take gunfights against each other.
Prowlers, they can get a lot of info, but can you see this L from afar? 7 shooting through the tree, and he gets 3, and TSM are in a 3 versus 2. It was still a scrap to get control of tree, and will get out with his life, and not a lot of HP. But Nightfall. What? Oh wow, I thought Sim connected with that. What the heck happened?
No way.
Face your fear!
Time to clutch against the Nightfall. You heard it come from the side, and a Proto laser focused for the Zippo clutch.
YFP needs to stop going for those ults. It worked for TSM. It's not working for them. That's the second time now where they've had an absolute round-changing ultimate used for either a 1v1 or a 2v1 that found 0 impact. That is heartbreaking for YFP.
Clutch.
Wait a minute. Lemon, I just realized something.
What?
It's 7 rounds for YFP1. The last time, again, they faced TSM on this map, they only got 7 rounds. We could see history remade once again from the mid-season cup. I mean, I thought these were lucky 7s, but they only have 2 out of 3 now.
Yeah, that an important timeout for YFP, because what happened to this game? It started 6-2 for YFP. They looked so good. Yeah, it came down to a couple 1v1s, but they were just so locked in. TSM had 1 timeout, and all of a sudden they leveled up Super Saiyan and haven't really been stopped ever since. So, what the heck?
Yeah, look, I mean, YFP's power level early on was great, but the thing is, though, is that, again, their defense was really linear in the beginning before TSM's timeout. Their only MO was just to wait out TSM and go for a retake. They didn't really have to worry about being patient for gunfights until the end of the round. But now that they have to be the maestros to control this, they don't have any functional way of having a handle in the early game. They want to just keep going for these linear plays and just pushing in. I do like this default, though. This will be a great change of pace for YFP. They can start taking more contact plays, just a little bit without as much risk. Have a deep lurk off of the hands of Thief. Finally parse out the best place to attack a site. Rather than brute forcing the way in. Never mind, they lost their flashes. That is devastating. And they're not even defaulting, they're going back to B.
It's not the first time TSM has gotten a pick with an op at C, and YFP will pivot, and they get rolling thundered as they walk into B. Everything YFP does gets countered. What a flash! Oh my god, TSM really kicking them where it hurts.
Enemy remaining.
But it is just up to Thief, and that is all said and done. Man, 12-7. This is no joke.
YFP, they looked like they knew what they wanted the first 10 seconds of the round. Yeah, very emotional for both teams. If I'm YFP, man, ooh, yikes. I don't know, man, but they're
just giving them CPR, guys. They're not shooting bodies. They're trying to revive
point.
They're certainly breaking ribs doing it. Holy, I mean, YFP, right? Like, they had the right idea. Physic goes down early on. You've lost all your flash and stall potential to just get rid of TSM off of B. And then they just panic push the site. Not a care in the world about who's on site or what utility there is. Hoist has the best literal ultimate you could have against the attacking side going B. And YFP just didn't care.
Off is going to be kept too. Now YFP are not even going to try and jiggle peek C and not going to create that problem ever again. TSM 1 round away from taking map 1 in this best of 3. This YFP break into B. Awaiting them is an op sim. Won't be lucky this time. He'll try to wait for his team, and there's a bit of a disconnect from TSM on how to retake, but they just wait for the flashes from 7. Beautiful, 2 people blinded, and YFP are so stunned, but as they escape, they try to bite back against TSM. It is Jake. Try and save this for YFP against Sim, against GMD.
Defenders
and it just won't be enough. TSM crushed them 13-7.
Mid-season cup all over again. YFP, their map pick. They thought they had TSM beat. They thought they had new strategies, but man, very emotional gameplay from both sides.
That just can't believe how much TSM controlled that whole map.
Yeah.
Just putting YFP exactly where they wanted them. The mind games, the first bloods, the op, the broken economy. A lot of force buys, I think, to alleviate the ego losses. But, whew, I was not expecting a 13-7.
Yeah, I mean, history tends to repeat itself, I suppose, right? This was one of the first matchups we had seen with the modern YFP squad, but I'm just excited for map 2.
Me too. And guess what? We have to go to a break to make sure everyone is set up, but we'll be right back and we'll talk to Dryad after.
if I had to wake up early, I think nowadays early is probably like 6 a.m. Cause like I think I've been waking up fairly early. At least nowadays I've been up early. I don't know if that's because I'm getting older or whatnot, but you know what I'm saying. But I don't know, just probably like around 6 a.m. I would say is too early.
I mean, I'm the type of dude where I know that I don't have to wake up early all the time. So when I have to wake up early, I guess like maybe for a flight, but I don't want to complain because, you know, it's like I don't wake up early in general. So the one time I do have to wake up, I'm going to be complaining. But I mean, I guess I just consider early in general, probably like 7 a.m., 8. Like when that happens, I'm like, man, that's early.
Early for me, I feel like would be like 9 a.m. I've been waking up at like 10, 11 recently, so it's like early-ish still, but for like a person that plays games for a living. But I'd say 9 a.m. would be a bit crazy for me. That's too early.
Probably 9 a.m. and below, like anything earlier than 9. It's like, because sometimes some people don't realize that like we have to like kind of prepare for these late match schedules. So we kind of like make ourselves wake up later, and right now, like, yeah, 9 would be early for me, and so I do not want to wake up before 9.
Anything before like 11:30 a.m. probably 11:30 to noon.
Okay, so for me, waking up early has changed a lot lately because before, like since I wasn't part of the collegiate scene, I would wake up a lot later. So like I remember there was a certain time and age where I didn't know what 8 a.m. was for like maybe a good year or so, but like this year I had to change that a lot because I had school. So this year, what early for me was like 5 in the morning, I guess. Yeah, but that's my fault. That's honestly my fault because like I could have woke up earlier. It's just that's what my body got used to. So I don't really hear people complaining too much about. Yeah, I'm waking up super early. I don't really hear that, but like if someone were to complain, it would be like 2 in the morning or something like that. Like honestly, but like I know sometimes that happens. It is what it is. Honestly, that's just that.
The game starts long before the game starts. And warm hands are faster hands. Gain the upper hand and power up your pregame warm-up with Zippo hand warmers.